All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you all see my screen. Good afternoon or good morning to wherever you guys are listening from. Welcome back to Business Central Manufacturing Exchange. I don't know if you guys attended last week's kickoff or last week's session about shop floor solutions. Today, we're back again with a different theme. Today is going to be all about warehouse solutions. And again, we have some ISV partners with us today. We'll have Zilvinas from Softera. We have Mark Hamblin from InsightWorks, and obviously we have James Crowther from Clever Dynamics. Similar to last time's theme, we'll be doing 30-minute presentations per ISV. Feel free to ask questions, obviously, in the chat. So we have the chat function for you guys to interact with us. And then after a 30-minute presentation of each ISV, we'll have a panel discussion headed by Martin. So Martin, that will be like the culmination of today's webinar. So again, you're all on mute, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on the chat. And without further ado, let's kick this off maybe with Mark from InsightWorks. So Mark Hamblin shall now make you presenter. Right.
Sorry about that. Just give me 2 seconds here to organize myself and we will get going. All right. I think is it. All right, there we go. Okay, so yeah, good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Mark here, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the warehouse management apps we have available for Business Central and some of the sort of related applications with that as well. So a little bit about us, if you don't know who we are. Come on, wiki. We've been around for just over 10 years now. You know, we've been working with Business Central since way back in 2017 when it was so-called Madeira or Dynamics 365 for financials. You know, the WMS apps you're looking at today have been around for about that long, like 10 years-ish. And I think in 2018, we had our first one on Business Central Cloud as well. So we're available globally. We work in Europe and North America, and typically through all of our partners. So if you're interested, you can always sign up with us. All right, so what we're going to focus on today are these 2 applications. So the first one, WMS Express, really is, you know, it's a free application. There's no upsell or anything like that there that we're trying to do. You can take it, you can use it. You don't have to be a partner. You don't have to, you know, even tell us who you are. You can install it and use it. And it has, you know, some limitations compared to the full version, which is Warehouse Insight. I'll go through some of those in a sec. But I would say for 75% of the people out there that need barcoding in their environment, WMS Express will do the trick for you. Right, and we have a number of additional applications available as well. I'll get into some of those as we get into the demo. All right, now let's talk about WMS Express. So you'll get to see the screen here in a moment on a device, but really what we are able to do with WMS Express are all sort of the key requirements in a typical warehouse, right? So that's receiving, picking or shipping, your bin-to-bin movements, and your stock takes or your inventory counts. And we work with lot numbers, serial numbers, all those sorts of things. So if that's all the customer needs, those, you know, 4 key requirements across any location configuration, by the way, that'll work with advanced warehousing. So the full directed put away and pick, it'll work with, you know, no bins turned on and anything in between. So it'll work with any location configuration within Business Central and give you those capabilities, right? Now, where can you use WMS Express? Pretty much anywhere. So we've seen it in full distribution centers with that advanced warehousing turned on, all the way to retail stores where they don't even use bins. Then they just need a simple solution for doing their inventory counts and their receiving at a retail store. So again, really it doesn't matter which environment you're in, it is pretty much a full WMS, you know, for those key areas within the warehouse, so those key functionalities. All right, now, Warehouse Insight takes you, quite a bit forward with capability. So you can see, the icons on there, the apps that we have available for WMS Express. The big differences are just the range of capabilities, available on Warehouse Insight compared to WMS Express, and the ability to customize and build your own applications and things like that. So we have videos online of how you can go in and quickly build your own application with the application wizard for Warehouse Insight. So you can extend the solution to really do anything you want. We've had, people use it for proof of delivery apps when they drop, things off at stores with your trucks. We've, done tons of stuff, fixed asset counting, all sorts of things that you can quickly plug into the solution, right? And again, it's built right into Business Central. There's no separate database or anything else. You just connect it, fire it up, and away you go. Simple as that, all right? Now, why would you use Warehouse Insight? Obviously, you're going to be looking at, a number of different applications. I think there's like 20 WMS applications in AppSource now. By the way, we do support on-prem as well. So we're talking primarily cloud here, but we do support on-prem with Warehouse Insight. WMS Express is cloud only. But where was I going with that? Oh, yes. So really, it's a very comprehensive solution, favorably compares with a lot of the ones you'd buy best of breed out there, and at a decent price, at a significantly lower price than what you'd see with those other solutions. We do have that extensibility framework that I mentioned, where we can extend the solution with a built-in application builder and a wizard that makes it quite easy to, again, extend the solution or build your own apps on the solution. It is available from NAV 2013 all the way up to Business Central SaaS version 20 that we're on now. We also support the Windows devices with both solutions. So if you're coming from a NAV customer that happens to be running legacy Windows devices or something like that, you can still run the solution on those Windows devices. Everything, though, is going Android, of course, and so that's what you want to do if they're getting new hardware. We also do supply that hardware, so we can do that in Europe and North America. We supply the software, and we do the support for the customers as well, if you like. All right, so really one company to come to for all your needs as far as WMS goes. All right, now some related applications, and again, we'll get into this in more detail, but we have some shipping applications. So it gives you sort of the end-to-end solution within the warehouse. You can receive, you can do your warehouse management, and then at the end for fulfillment, we've got, not listed in here, but an order fulfillment worksheet that helps you decide what you're able to ship and pick today. We have dynamic ship to actually execute that shipping, generating shipping labels, doing rate shopping for the appropriate carrier, including freight and parcel type shipments. We also have something called Order Ship Express, which is completely free. It's available in the US only currently, but there's no cost for the app, and allows you to print shipping labels and get rates for UPS, United States Parcel Service, right out of the box. So pretty simple. And some of the tools that we use here for sort of managing the warehouse, like cloud printing and drag and drop management, those types of things. All right, now with that, let's jump in and look at the demo. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be running in my cloud environment here, and what I'm going to show you first is WMS Express. All right, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to bring up this screen. So this screen here is the device that I have in my hand. And to show you what that looks like, let's bring up this camera. So this is the device that I have in my hand, and as you can see, when I touch this device, the screen moves. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through setting up WMS Express and getting it working and connected up to Business Central. So the first thing you'll notice, we've got the icon here. So I'm going to start that. Now, when you run the install wizard within Business Central for WMS Express, it'll generate a report for you for doing the installation and everything else. So there's a barcode to install the app on Windows or Android. There's a barcode to configure. And then depending on how you've got your login set up, there is a barcode for logging in as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the application, and it's Warehouse Insight. So even though this is WMS Express, it uses the same base application as Warehouse Insight. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in, I'm going to scan my configuration barcode. So I could manually configure everything, tell it which server I'm using and all those sorts of things, or I can just, I hit the home button, or I can scan that configuration barcode. So that's what I'm going to do. scan the configuration barcode there real quick. Now it's going out and configuring the system. And we'll give it a sec here. Usually it's pretty much instant. This is the challenge of doing these demos online. Why is it not configuring here? Did I not scan the red barcode? Yeah, usually it's pretty much instant. All right, let's try that again. There we go. Configuration barcode. Come on, wakey, wakey. All right, well, I'm not sure what the heck that is all about. Let's close out of that and scan it from here. By the way, if you actually want to see this working in real life, you can go and check out the online demo for this, because it does actually go in and walk you through that exact same step. So with WMS Express, that clearly had some issues scanning my barcode. Maybe I've got the wrong configuration here. No good. But anyway, what you would normally do is scan that and then simply log in, and you get a screen like this. So let's actually have a look at this guy. So this one is the full Warehouse Insight. So WMS Express is a smaller, lighter version of the full Warehouse Insight, but you get all those same capabilities, right? You get the ability to do, receiving, putaways, picking, shipping, all of those sorts of things. Now, what WMS Express, Warehouse Insight adds to WMS Express are things like output, consumption, and this one down here, which is license plating. So license plating is managing a group of items together. Some people call those containers, license plates, boxes, pallets, whatever you want to call them. That allows us to combine multiple items in the same container with a single barcode. So typically that's used for outbound processing, where I can come in and, while I'm packaging in the shipping area, like building a pallet, a skid, or while I'm picking, I can build up a UPS box, those types of things. That's what we use license plating for. But we can also use it in receiving and for general warehouse management. So I could receive a number of items onto a license plate and then just move that using that one barcode to move it into the warehouse. Tracks lot numbers, serial numbers, all of those sorts of things in the system. All right. Now, these other applications here, I won't get into too much detail. We're going to jump in and actually have a look at kind of how they work. Again, they're very configurable. Actually, let me back up a sec now that I think about it. Yeah, it looks like my demo sandbox might be having issues here. But a couple down here, just as an aside, these are applications that I built myself with the application wizard. So again, you can go into Business Central and build your own applications with that app wizard in the system. But I'm going to go in here back into receiving. So when I open up receiving, what we see is a list of all the purchase orders in the system that I can receive against. And you can also show the warehouse receipt numbers here instead, or the purchase order numbers, or whatever you like. You can come in and you can tailor this and add whatever columns you want into the system. So these are set up in Business Central. That's where all the configuration is. But on a user-by-user basis, I could also come in here and adjust what the user actually is able to see, okay? Or you could do it globally. And that could be handy because, I've got a pallet of product in front of me. It's got my vendor's packing slip. I've got my vendor's packing slip that has my purchase order number on it. I choose the PO and away I go. But if I wanted to see the vendor name or something like that, I can make that visible as well. I can also scan an item that I've received, and it'll filter this list down to the purchase order number that I'm looking for. In my case, I'm just going to grab one of these purchase orders, open it up, and we're going to get everything I need to receive on that particular purchase order. Now, a couple of things here. We do have multiple views that you can use within this. So we have a card style view, which shows you one entry at a time. So you've got a big screen to show you everything to do with one entry. Or we've got this list view here, which makes it a little more flexible and gives you a lot more context about what's actually supposed to be in that. And you'll notice, if you know what a warehouse receipt is, this actually created the warehouse receipt for me on the fly. So it can do that as well. If I choose a purchase order and you need warehouse receipts, it's created it for me, and it's actually got several purchase orders on this receipt. Now at this point, assuming I've got everything barcoded, I just scan the barcodes, and those barcodes can be really, any format you like. So the standard linear or the data matrix codes. And we have this sheet, by the way, it's very handy. You can generate barcodes in any style you like. And that is part of our barcode generator tool, which is free. And this is the sample barcode list, which is great for setting up lists of barcodes to test with and things like that. And it's also used in reports to your own barcodes to reports. So if everything is barcoded, I can just start scanning. However, if you don't have things barcoded, I can actually come in here and I can do printing from the handheld devices. And I'll do a cloud print to whatever printer is associated with this particular device. And I can print labels at receiving and those sorts of things as well. And I can also handle any barcode format. So it can be the vendor's barcode, manufacturer barcode, UPC code, my own barcode. I can handle all of those simultaneously. Doesn't matter what format the barcode is in, it's a quick configuration and we can read it. You can also do cross references on the device as well. If I receive and I scan a barcode it's never seen, it will prompt me for the matching item on this purchase order for that barcode. So you can allow your receivers to actually build up your cross references as you go. But the most simple case is, come in, everything is already barcoded, and all I need to do is go ahead and scan a barcode to start receiving. So I grab one of the packages, I scan the barcode on that package, it finds it in the list for me, and optionally shows me a picture of that item. And we also have the ability to do fact boxes, by the way. So if you want that picture visible on the screen at all times, based on the row you have selected, we can make that visible, along with receiving comments or vendor comments or whatever you want to put on the main screen as well. But in my case, I'm just going to come in and say, okay, I've got 15 of those, and it updates Business Central with those 15, and I now have 6 left to find. And that's it. That's receiving, right? If I find more of those items in the second box or pallet, again, I can scan it. Again, it'll show me the picture, and let's say I got 5 this time, and it's just going to update, Business Central with that. So you don't have to unpack everything, put it into its pile and count it. You just scan it in as you go. If you have barcodes like this one at the bottom here that has a lot number built into the barcode, we can scan that. And when I do that, it'll come in and it brings in that lot number automatically, along with all the other details in that barcode. So this package number, by the way, is the Business Central package number capability that they released a little while ago. So you can have an additional package number per lot number. If you don't want to use license plates, that's sometimes a good alternative. But everything you see on the screen could have actually come in from the barcode. The lot number, expiration date, quantity, unit of measure. I could change the unit of measure here as well if I like, if I'm receiving pieces or boxes. But we can default that unit of measure to whatever we want, pull it out of the barcode, those sorts of things. We can enter lot information on this if we really wanted to, with whatever details we want. So quite often this is used to extend the solution. Like if you're tracking secondary serial numbers like an IMEI or quality information on this, you can use this lot information. All you have to do is add those fields into Business Central. As long as those fields are on the table in Business Central, I can enter them here on the handheld device. Very simple. All right, in my case anyway, I'm just going to receive a bunch of those. And again, it just updates Business Central with those 24. If I hit enter, it's going to list all the lot numbers and serial numbers I've received. In the screen, I could just go ahead and scan the next 20 lot numbers or serial numbers or whatever I'm receiving. So pretty simple. That's how receiving works. You scan a barcode, optionally enter a quantity, and you're good to go. The rest of the system works very similarly, where, if I'm in picking, I got the same option. And I'll actually show you picking really quickly, just in the interest of time. I'm also going to show you the inventory count because that's a good one. But here again, in picking, we can add additional fields up there if you like. So if we want to have, the carrier that we need to pick for, or the order that we need to pick in, or any of those sorts of things, we can do that. I've got warehouse picks enabled, but we can pick against sales orders, inventory picks, warehouse picks, production orders, all of the transfer orders, all those sorts of things you can do from within the picking screen. So I'm going to go in there, open up that particular pick ticket. And by the way, I just rebooted this device, and the first time you do that, it takes an extra second to load the application. After that, it's pretty fast. Now, here again, quite often we see people using what we call the card screen. And the card screen just shows us one entry at a time, and takes up the full screen and allows you to show, well, even on here, I can show pictures and things like that, right? Like I've got some fact boxes set up for, landscape mode, so that when I go into landscape, I've got, oh, geez, sorry. I think my visor crapped out on me there. When I go into landscape mode, it shows me fact boxes, but I can do that, those fact boxes in portrait mode or landscape mode or whatever I want. And I think my screen share thing is going wacky on me here when I go into landscape. So we're not going to do that anymore. All right. So in picking, we'll just go back into that pick document I had open, and it works exactly the same as everything else. The only difference is here, I need to scan the bin first. And you can set that up as an option. You don't have to scan the bin if you don't want, allowing or forcing people to scan the bin allows us to, verify that they're doing the right thing. So for me, I simply go in, I scan the bin that I'm in front of, and you notice I have some flexibility here. I decided I'm going to pick from bin 0201, which isn't the first bin in my list. I'm standing in this aisle, so that's where I'm going to pick from. And then all I have to do is go in and scan the item that I'm picking from that particular bin. I'll use my favorite item here, 1908. It's easy to find. And again, shows us the picture if we want and allows us to enter that pick quantity, and we're done. That's now updated Business Central with that quantity that we've just picked. And again, it'll work with lot numbers, serial numbers, it'll work with warehouse lot tracking, non-warehouse lot tracking, all of those configurations, it'll work just fine. We also have the ability to do drill downs from here or any application. So let's say I get to this bin, that item, I can't find it, it's completely empty. I can go in and instead of using the menu, I can set up hotkeys for all of my commands, and I can drill down and find more detail about that particular item, right? So and up at the top here, you can put whatever data you want. This is configuration, and same thing with the columns and everything else. So if you wanted to have the expiration date here and you have lot warehouse tracking turned on, I can see which lot numbers and expiration dates are in each bin, and I could choose an alternate bin to pick from if I wanted. Or look at recent transactions or show the photo again or whatever we want to do from the screen. All right, so that's a little on the picking side, very straightforward. Bin item quantity, we've picked. The pick generation, I mentioned we have the order fulfillment worksheet that can help you generate the pick documents. So you can go in there and it'll say, this is what you're able to pick today, this is what you're able to fully ship, partially ship, all those sorts of things. Automatically generate the pick tickets where you can combine orders onto a single pick, split up an order into multiple picks, or do order-to-order picking. You can do all of that. And once those picks are generated, they're just Business Central picks that are now available on the handheld device. So you don't have to use our fulfillment worksheet to do any of that. You can just create your picks the way you normally do, and bang, I'm able to go in and pick them. And I'm quite annoyed that my WMS Express failed because that's quite a nice demo. But if you are interested in that Express, how you set it up and get it going, it's very, very simple and generally works right away. I actually reboot my device to see if that works. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the inventory count, because one of the big advantages of using barcoding is that inventory accuracy, right? You are going to speed things up a little bit, generally speaking, by scanning, but that inventory accuracy really is one of the key things. And what that means is when we send somebody out to pick a product in a specific bin, we have a high degree of confidence that that product is there. You're not going to run around the warehouse for half an hour trying to find it, because we know exactly how many we have and where they are, because our inventory is accurate. We're also not going to be able to ship the wrong product because we're going to scan it. We're going to physically verify that we're doing the right thing using the handheld device. So the inventory accuracy is a big driver of barcoding, or a big benefit of barcoding. And part of keeping your inventory accurate is doing inventory counts, whether those are cycle counts or full physical counts. And inventory counts suck. Nobody wants to do an inventory count, right? Nobody wants to go out and count inventory. And one person liked it and he was weird. So having a good tool to be able to do those counts, execute those counts properly is of paramount importance. So when I go into the count here, we've got two different types of inventory counts. We have the basic count, which is just the physical inventory journal in Business Central. I can scan in there. I can either create a batch ahead of time and list items I need to count, or I can just scan items and add them to that batch for posting. The advanced count lets me do things like set up count sheets. An account sheet is just a place I'm going to store stuff I've counted, kind of like a batch, but just a lot more comprehensive and capable. And you can name these whatever you like. I've just named them Team 1 to Team 3. That could be Joe, Fred, Frank, whatever you like. And I've got two ways I've set these up. So Team 1, actually, let's start with Team 2 for fun. Team 2, I've given them 12 things to go out and find and count. So this is pretty typical for cycle counts. I say, give me 30 random items to count today, or give me all my A items that haven't been counted this week, or items from vendor X, whatever criteria you want, and you get a list of items you need to go out and count. And they go out and count them. Team 1 is a different story. I haven't told them what to count. I've just said, go out and scan everything you find in the warehouse, and we'll see if the system agrees with you or not. Okay, so that's Team 1. So if I open up Team 1 sheet, it's going to start out blank, and because I haven't told them what to count, and I just tell Team 1, you go count everything on that side of the warehouse. So what do they do? Well, if I threw a scanner at you now, you'd actually be able to do an inventory count because it's exactly the same as everything else. Plus it tells you down there at the bottom, scan bin. So all I do is I walk up to the bin that I want to work with. I scan the bin code. I scan the item. Let's do a different item. Let's do a lot tracked item for fun. Scan the bin, scan the item, option to look at the picture, enter the quantity I'm counting, and that's it. That's how I do my inventory counts, right? And then I go to the next bin, scan it. We can have it remember the bin in between scans if you want. Scan the item that I'm counting in that particular bin. Again, option to look at the picture, enter the quantity, and that's how we do our inventory counts. So you just go bin by bin and do it. Now, if this was a directed count where we tell people what to count, it looks exactly the same. The only difference is I go to the bin and the item that's listed on the screen, scan it, and count it. Now, once that's all done, what we get in Business Central is we get inventory accounts. So if I go into, I gotta refresh my Business Central here. If I go into my inventory account screen, sorry, I just rebooted my device, we'll see what we can do in there. Come on. All right, so when we go into the inventory counts for the scanner that I just did, we'll just do a quick type. And this is a list of all the inventory counts I've done since the beginning of time. This first one is the one that I just finished. And if we look at that, we can see everything that I've counted. I can open this up. I can do manual entry. I can do adjustments in here, those sorts of things. But this is everything I've counted, and that's it. Now, what you would typically do at this point is you'd see if you're accurate with your inventory or not. So I'll run this count difference analysis, and I'm actually going to show anything that has lot number problems. And I'm going to do all inventory, and I'm going to sort by the amount of discrepancy. And when I run this report, you'll notice that it shows me, you know, I'm short 300,000 of this item. I'm short 103,000 of that item. That's the, you know, the dollar amount that I'm short and the quantity. And down here are my total discrepancies. And here it breaks out all my lot number discrepancies. It'll do this with serial numbers as well. And then what that means is if I post this count the way it is, it'll post these lot numbers, these lot number adjustments for me automatically. So I don't have to manually reconcile anything or click any buttons or do anything special or manually enter stuff. It'll post with these lot numbers as is, or serial numbers. Okay. Now, that was a pretty terrible count. We were out by a lot of money. So a lot of people now will use Post-it notes or highlighters to, you know, redo some of that count. The other option you have is this recount sheet capability, where I can go in and say anything that's out by more than $100 or anything that's out by more than 5%, automatically add that to a recount sheet, and that'll give the employees, you know, a sheet of items that they can go in and recount, and we've got an audit trail. We can see the original count quantity, the recount, recounts on top of recounts, all of those sorts of things are available. So this is ideal for doing spot checks, recounts, auditors, those types of things. All right. So that's basically it. And just because I'm a masochist, I'm going to try my my WMS Express one more time. I rebooted the device. Sometimes that screen share app I use screws up the device. So let's see if this one does it. Nope, still having issues. I don't know what the heck's going on there. All right. So that's okay. You get the general idea. WMS Express, exactly the same thing. Check out the video online. For that, if you want to see how easy it is to set up WMS Express and get it working. And that's it. So if you do have additional questions or anything, you can go to WMS for Dynamics or the WMSexpress.com for videos on both products, more and you know, comprehensive. And the Ordership Express, I didn't show you just because I'm running a little low on time. Actually, I guess I have 2 minutes. I might show you that. Ordership Express, again, completely free application and allows you to do rate shopping and get labels for UPS and USPS from within Business Central. All right, I think that is it. I have nothing else to cover. So Lon, I'll hand it over to you again.
Hey, thanks so much, Mark. So for anyone who has questions to Mark, you can write them on the chat, and later on during the panel or before the panel, we can discuss those questions. Again, yeah, thank you, Mark. And now moving on, let's have Silvinas from Softera. So Silvinas, I'll make you now presenter, and you can now share your screen.
Thank you. Okay. So I hope presentation is visible now.
Yes.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Today we'll talk about inventory management product of Softera Baltic. For those who are new to Softera, Softera Baltic is the leading company in Baltic states as Microsoft Dynamics partner. We are specializing in inventory management, production management processes, also warehousing. Today we'll talk about one of our products. It's called Software Inventory. It's dedicated for inventory level management, procurement, transfers, and so on, in order to optimize inventory levels. So, we would like today to highlight few features which are beneficial when using in combination with MRP functionality for production management and for production planning. So first things first, about software inventory itself. We started this project about 12 years ago, and it's as some sort of electronic lean Kanban form, or dynamic buffer, or demand-driven replenishment. So a lot of names for the same thing. But of course, it is everything is around inventory replenishment calculations. Basically speaking, it's a technology of self-adjusting inventory levels. Currently, this product is one of the most developed products in our product range. Has a huge, quite long list of successful implementation records. And during that period, this product was developed into a comprehensive tool for daily operations of procurement, inventory movement along supply chain. So of course, we always had in mind inventory efficiency. Basically, inventory efficiency is understood as lower inventory levels. On the same hand, having higher inventory availability for sales, or higher inventory material availability on production line. So this is the basic tasks for such a tool. Of course, we try to achieve more automated planning process, faster decision making. So this tool currently has quite extensive functionality for that. First of all, it's in order to represent what we mean under inventory efficiency. Here I would like to present few references from our implementations. And as an example, company that previously used standard BC functionality with some additional modifications for inventory management. After implementation, we decreased inventory. This figure says about near 40%. On the same hand, increasing availability, so increasing sales about 7%. So this means that this project return on investment on this project was quite fast, and it was done with a scope of inventory management with more than 400,000 SKUs. So it's a quite nice project for automation of the inventory management processes. So it was quite interesting to solve that problems for that client. And another one, as an example, is one sports fashion company. So in addition to previous challenges, additional complexity was the situation which came from industry of this company, because it's a sports fashion brand. It means that all assortment changes 4 times per year, and it means that there is no historical sales data enough for inventory management optimization. But of course, everybody wants to be efficient, so it was necessary to solve that. And this dynamic buffer approach was just the solution that solved the problem. So this is the history of software inventory and how it's developed and how it was implemented among our clients. And moving to possibilities for production management, we see quite nice features, and these features are currently we had already implementations for the proof of concept. So we would like to share with you as an idea, and as ready to deploy solutions for that. Of course, from the previous slides, we should state that this return on investment on such a project is quite fast, and of course, it's nice that this return on investment is actually measurable, because it impacts some important financial results of a company. So it means that in most of the cases, return on investment is between 1 and 6 months in our experience. So moving to these nice features, which helps with production management a lot. So first annoying thing about standard PC functionality is about planning worksheet. I don't know how you guys, but we usually from our clients we have one annoying question, which sounds like how to be sure that in this worksheet there is no errors. And then the usual answer is that you should keep your SKU parameters in order, your bill of materials set properly, your forecast should be accurate enough, and then your open orders data must be valid. So in this case, everything that is presented on your planning worksheet will be okay and will be correct. Of course, you can check by using some additional tools like availability report, but it is very manual, very labor-consuming process. Go line by line, click on report to check everything, and then in those cases when you have hundreds of thousands of SKUs, it is not very correct way to organize a procedure. So software inventory worksheet is organized differently. One of the main differences from the standard that all information about one item, about one SKU is condensed into one line. So this represents quite different view to the operator, and all necessary information about that stock keeping unit is condensed into one line, which helps to understand the total balance, the total demand, and everything. It's much simpler. So from that we can calculate various signals represented in colors that helps to filter out and to focus attention quite more faster, more efficient. And from that, we can organize this planning process a little bit different way than we used to organize on a standard BC planning worksheet. For example, when we know the balance information of every item represented in colors, we can check only those colors which we consider as bad colors or needs attention. Usually it's black and red. Of course, it's easier to batch items into shipments according to the vendor or according to the shipment families and shipment groups and so on. Of course, we can adjust the totals of shipments to optimize to fit the shipment space, for example, truck, for example, necessary quantity of pallets, or optimize another way, which is required by the vendor. And all these quantities are totals and are optimized according to the total balance. So this is the worksheet that helps to organize this procurement and inventory movement process differently, and it's more suitable for purchase, and in all the cases when this item view is preferred instead of demand line view as in the standard. Yeah, so this was about the first feature, this worksheet. So another feature which we consider as beneficial is in-depth view into stock keeping unit dynamics through the time. Let's say so, because it's very hard to understand from the surface how inventory is performing at SKU level, how your strategy works, what impact does to the inventory levels, and for availability, for your inventory efficiency in totals. And the better way to do that is just to present on the chart in one take. Let's see. So, for example, I can go to the Dynamics BC. With setup for software inventory purposes, and we have such a possibility to open a chart and to check how inventory is performing. So the most important line is black for us. So it's our inventory in quantity for each item. We have safety stock level, which is represented in 3-color zone. And also some additional information, and purple is planned receipts, and it's also various additional demand information may be presented here. And for example, if we go chart by chart, we can understand better about how inventory is performing. For example, we can see very clearly that inventory was decreased quite drastically, but still it is at optimal level. We don't have stockouts, only lower inventory levels than before. And going chart by chart, we can understand how this inventory is performing. For example, yeah, so we can see some temporary stockouts of inventory after some peak consumptions that may suggest us to have higher inventory levels in order to avoid, or if it is it can be tolerated such a periods of stockouts, you may leave as is. So it's a better understanding of inventory dynamics. Helps us to set this inventory levels. So In this case, you can see a stock out, which was caused by late shipment from the vendor. We can see lead time, which is 5 days. But here we can see that we have order, and this order didn't arrive from so at least 1 month, and it was caused by a stock out. So it's very easy to track. So this is the way to understand more deeply when you are focused to the by the general signals from the list. Then you can go to the chart and then look more deeply if you would like to. So yes. Oh, and the third feature, which we also would like to present, is about inventory level management. So sometimes it seems like a lot of data and must be evaluated in very complicated slices, and then a lot of trends and seasonalities, and a lot of stuff needs to be evaluated during inventory level calculations. And when we talk about safety stock quantity, it's even more complicated, because safety stock represents only a part of inventory demand, but this safety stock is also very important for the inventory efficiency, and therefore needs to be precisely set in order to have efficient inventory. And especially in those cases when you don't have sufficient historical sales data, this task seems unsolvable. But we have some interesting technology called dynamic buffer, or demand-driven inventory replenishment. So we can check how to use that in our favor. And what we currently see, that Microsoft itself started to implement this method as demand-driven. They called demand-driven MRP. So, and it will be available for preview at Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations from July this month. Of course, there is very little information still about how exactly will work this original Microsoft functionality, but currently we can talk about software inventory methods, how it works, and talk about that. So when we speak about safety stock, which we again represent in this chart with this three color zone, and we have, for example, 2 models with the very exact consumption data. We can see that in various conditions, the safety stock may be used or may be not used at all. In the upper picture, it represents when safety stock is barely necessary, but in the lower picture, we see that this safety stock is every time is consumed fully, and it's still not, and it may be higher. And this, as I said, this both pictures represents when the consumption of that material is exactly the same, with the same dynamics. So the demand, the level of safety stock that is optimal may be different, not because of the consumption data or dynamics, but dependingly on various other factors. For example, as production reliability, supply reliability, supply times, and so on. Many factors may play a role, and it's those factors also multiplied by complexity of the supply chain inside production plant. So it's just to calculate optimal safety stock is sometimes seems like very complicated task. But we can use dynamic buffer feature for that, and it works quite simple. The only inventory level is measured every time, and when system notices drop inventory into the red zone is not touchable zone for the system. It recognizes this event as necessity to increase a buffer. So it's like a self-adjusting feature for safety stock. And to another side, system checks green zone, and if inventory stays too long in the green zone, it's also a signal to go down with the inventory. So it's like a self-adjusting feature for safety stock. And every time when safety stock needs to be higher, it goes up. Every time when safety stock needs to be lower, it goes down, independently on what factor causes that, dependingly on what sales dynamics or other factors play a role. So very quite simple logic solves quite complicated question here. Yeah. So I would like to return back to the chart and just show you how this technology works. So we said that the safety stock quite high from the beginning, and these signals drives this inventory down until the level which is optimal for that case, for that situation. And if we go through the charts, we can see that in some cases when inventory drops, it increases a buffer for us after some period of time, goes down and self-adjusts every time finds optimal level, down, up, and so on and so on. So this is the solution for safety stock management inside production plant. Yeah. So if you have any questions, you can write to the chat, as our host said. As I understand from the agenda of today, we'll have discussion later, and we can discuss these features if you would like to. So basically, that's the story. We barely scratched the surface of that software inventory with about that functionality, but it was idea to present briefly some few basic ideas.
All right, Silvinas, thank you so much for your presentation. So far, no questions in the chat. Again, if you have questions, as I've mentioned, please feel free to type it on the chat. So to get the presentation going, I'd like to hand it over to James Crowther for the next presentation from Clever Dynamics. James.
Hi, thank you. Let me just share make sure I share the right screen here.
I'm seeing a screen.
Okay, hope it's the right one. Okay, you got a Clever Dynamics logo in the middle?
Yep, I see that.
Okay, perfect. So Clever Dynamics. Clever Dynamics spun out of one of the largest and longest established business central partners in the UK, Techman Technology Management, however it's known. Probably about 2015, we set up a specific ISV We gave them a dedicated team of people. We really put some time and effort into productizing solutions that we built many times for many different clients. Techman's kind of core competence is in distribution and manufacturing, and our WMS products have really come out of that. So we were one of the first, I think, 8 partners who, when AppSource was launched, we were invited to put something in. We've had something in ever since there. If you go in there now, you'll see, I think it's 16 current products. But talking about the WMS ones specifically, we have a number. And what we're trying to do is we're really trying to remove the need. We had a lot of clients who kept coming to us and saying, we need something a bit better than Business Central in terms of what warehouse management capability it has. It has the basics, but it really didn't give them the capability they needed, specifically to be efficient, to automate, to be fast. And in days of kind of having to ship things overnight, same day, they really needed something that would save them having to press quite so many buttons. So we built a family of WMS apps that go together. You can pick them individually, or you can pick individual ones. And they tightly work together. So if you have more than one, they're going to work very well together in terms of how they work, how they fit, and the logic of going across. So I'm going to run through some of these. We've got half an hour, so I'm not going to spend too long. Some of them I'm going to cover in more detail. I'm going to start with Clever Shipment Management because a lot of our clients are getting orders in from a number of different places, telesales, a lot of EDI, a lot of e-commerce as well, where it's coming in from the new products like, for instance, Shopify that we could see. So let's quickly kind of flick into a demo. I'm much more keen on showing software than I am PowerPoint. So what does shipment management do? Well, on each sales order, as it's built up, it's looking at the items on that sales order, and it's looking at the destination for that sales order, and it's saying, how should this go and where should it go? So it's looking at all of the different lines that you get on a sales order. And if we just scroll across, we'll see it's allocating kind of a new delivery area code, as we call it. Now, how are delivery areas built up? Well, delivery areas codes really come from the shipping and information that you've got. So in here, it's a default shipped address, but if you put a customer, it will take the region and the postcode, zip code, whatever the format is, and work out how that goes, where that needs to go, and the best way of shipping that item. And we can apply criteria around weight, around value, to get it onto these delivery areas. I've got lots different ones set up here, but I'll, if everybody will excuse me, I'll perhaps go back to the GB ones and look at that. And I'll pick the ones that where we're in our area, where we've set up the different codes in order of the postcodes that we use in the UK, but they can be codes for Germany or any other format, zip codes for the US. And we can either insert just the postal code, postal address, or we can actually go in and insert a new line and put, a destination type of a customer, a vendor, a location to say this is the order in which we think these should be delivered in and how they go together. And so the system will look up this. It will work out from the delivery address on the order. It will go and work out which delivery areas apply and what schedules, what delivery agents then, shipping agents can do that. And we can also look at the delivery schedules. So on this, I've got a standard next day, but I could go down and look at a difference. I could say I only deliver to this area on a Monday, a Thursday, a Tuesday, or whatever permutation we want to set up in all the different calendars. And what's the value of this? Well, The value of this really, if I come back to the front screen, is as your sales orders start to get released, we build up a list of what's got to go. I generated some orders earlier for the UK market. I didn't do US and Canada, but it would work exactly the same way. All of these are going out actually on own logistics, my own fleet, but I could do, you know, one group for all the stuff going out via UPS, another one for FedEx, and I can put in the times that those are going to be collected so that we know the priority of what we're going to do. So in this one, my GBWM, I've got 9 particular drops. What's a drop? It's a delivery or a collection from a particular point. So these are the areas that we've got to go to, and these are the volumes and the weights that we've got to do. I can move a particular one onto a different delivery group if I want to. So I could move it from one courier, or I could move it from my own transport onto a courier if it's very small, although my rules should cap that anyway. If I'm using my own delivery fleet, I can interface this into some of the route optimization tools that will kind of work out what the best process is to get into what truck. Or if I'm just doing simple, I can flick that up, I can drop it in, and it will show me all the different places that I've got to go, and map that out as a route round. And I can see this is 8 hours 23 minutes. So actually that's a little long. So my transport planning, I perhaps need to on that particular one move something to a different go. So once I've got my my different shipments that I'm sending out grouped correctly, and I'm kind of happy with the way that they're organized, my next thing is to then get them processed. And if I've got perhaps a crew that come in the evenings and overnight to pick and ship, you know, I take orders up until close of play at 5, and then in effect we have to deliver the next day. I need to make that really simple, because my IT people, my computer gurus don't work overnight. So I need to make that as simple and straightforward as possible. And maybe my process is different per shipping agent. So if I go into the setup, I'll go into this route status list. Now I have chosen just to set this list up of processes that I've got to go through. And I've set it up without a shipping agent, but I could go and set up a status list and say, right, take it the wizard, shipping agent for when I'm shipping out via, I don't know, let's go FedEx. Okay, I'm going through, I'm using warehouse ships and picks and receipts and putaways. I want to consolidate shipments on that, so I want to pull them together. I'm not doing any collections because I'm just going out by FedEx and they're not collecting for me. I won't reserve inventory this time. I won't process assembly orders. Maybe I will. And I won't create any production orders. Do I want internal documents? No, I'm sending it out by FedEx, and I don't even need shipping documents if I'm sending by FedEx. I just want to go. And that's created effectively almost a route. For those of you familiar with manufacturing, it's going through and it's saying, right, planning, consolidate the shipments, create the picks for that, register them. If I'm not using a handheld device, I can do a manual registration, complete the assemblies, post the shipments, and complete. That's what I've got to do to get my FedEx consignment each day out the door. And all of these are configurable. So we can create production orders. So if we have a situation where we're manufacturing to dispatch, you know, we plan what we're going to ship tomorrow and we manufacture it today. So in fresh food, that's particularly prevalent, but we see it in other sectors as well. We can create and finish production orders. We can take that through. How does that represent? Well, once you've defined that list, if I go back to my shipment management routes, and let's just turn on the little back box down the side here, we can see for each particular route, the different processes it's got to go through. And the person running this process doesn't really have to think about it too much. All they do is go process. And I've run the planning process, so I now reserve the inventory. and it's going through, and for all 9 shipments it's reserved inventory. So I now go create shipments, and off it's doing creating those 9 different warehouse shipments so that they're ready to process. And once I've done that, there's my 9 created. I just click process again, and this time I'm creating the picks. Okay, if it does find an error, it gives you a consolidated list. Quite pleased it did come up. I've got one particularly which I haven't got my items in the right pick bin, so it's failed on the create pick. But the rest of them will be there, and it will be ready to go through. So in effect, I can see that I'm now ready to register picks, and that's probably where I'm going to hand over to a device to start handling it. So you get the feeling that, instead of somebody having a sit-in situation, or you've got to actually create a whole bunch of customization to kind of automate the process of release the sales order, how I get it. I can get it into the right grouping. I can assign that grouping to a route, and I can get that driven out so that in effect those documents are out in the warehouse as soon as possible. And just coming back to illustrate that fact, if I go back to the setup and go back to that route status list, this process automatically and hide status. So I could actually say on sales order release, I automatically plan it, reserve the inventory, create the shipments, create the picks. So I go down, and effectively that would mean on sales order release, it's going to do those processes automatically, run through. And I could even hide the status so that people don't actually see that that's something that has to happen. Making it very efficient for, we get a sales order, and that maybe comes from an API from something like Magento, some e-commerce system. And as part of that API, I get it to do a sales order release. This will pick it up, and the first thing that people will see is a correctly structured order in the warehouse. So I'm just going to flick into a different copy of Business Central and talk a couple of different things, because as WMS Plus, we've added some capability. Let me just search SAI. Because we needed more rules about kind of the way that the warehouse works and so on. So we've added a lot of different functions, and I can go in here and add not just a put away template, but this time a pick template. So what are pick templates? Well, they allow you to define for this item how we would best like it to be picked. Okay, so for instance, this one is one I've been asked to do many times in the past, where in effect it goes for the largest unit of measure possible. If you have a quantity which is a full pallet, generate a pick on the bulk location to pick the full pallet, rather than emptying our pick face first. Let's look at the standard one. I took through that. We've made it very simple. So look for full pallets. If not, try it. If you've got a balance after you've done the largest unit measure, you've taken those off. Any full pallets that can be taken out of the quantity, then look for the exact quantity, try and empty a bin if we can, so that we end up with a maximum quantity bin, then start kind of working away down through to what's finally available. So we're building those templates against the items. In conjunction with that, the pick worksheet in Business Central can be very powerful, but boy, do you have to spend some time setting up the criteria, setting up all the use cases, and then pulling items onto the pick worksheet. And pulling items onto the pick worksheet, you can have quite a bit. We've had quite some issues with locking if we let that run for a particular period of time. So we built pick worksheet templates. So in effect, they are situations where, for instance, we can take preset those filters and run them one at a time over our inbound orders, so that in effect we've got all of the standard filters and a bunch more that say, okay, if we've only got 2 lines and the weight is under 20 kilos, pull those out. Shipping agent is FedEx next day. Pull those out and get those out onto as picks onto the product warehouse floor as rapidly as possible, so that in effect we don't have to do. So we keep running through those pick template worksheet templates in the orders, so that in effect we keep making sure that they're generated automatically without somebody having to sit there and do it. And so once we've gone through, and I'm aware time is ticking on, too much to show and not enough time, but there you go. How do we go? What's our kind of barcoding handheld solution, if you like, from this? Let me just flick back. Well, we have an Android solution. I'll pull in the kind of Mobi control visualization here. It's there. We built this specifically. We've got a few UI tweaks that we think are important. We found that people wanted large, what we call fat finger friendly screens. So in effect, I can be walking along, dragging a pallet truck, and I can do this quite happily with my thumb, pick one of these options, go on, pull up, what I need to do without having to be too precise, having to stop to actually operate the device. I can see it where I am. How is this built up? Well, device setup, very similar to what you've seen. You come into your instance of Business Central, you point your device at the barcode, there's a token, it reads that barcode, it goes off and connects you through to Business Central. How does that then work? Well, we have a set of device menus, so very similar to kind of roles. We try to mimic that. For each device menu, I've got some of the sample ones here. I can go and I can just, excuse me, where's my actions? Go down into here. I can define what's on that menu. So these are the standard ones that you can just go and use, but you can go and build up. And they're built up of a number of different functions, and you have menus, sub-menus. You can build it up with any different level of menu you want. What are device functions? Well, device functions are all of the different inventory processes and many more that you might want to use. So, assemblies, bin blocks, item inquiries, movements, picks. Let's go into a pick and have a look. And all of these are definable. Again, what's going to show on the screen during a pick? I can go and add a piece of information. So in effect, new line, go in and change it to a data item, and then go and add from literally hundreds of related information of what I want to show on this particular line. One of the things I would point out, this little one here, enable voice. So we have voice picking built in. So in effect, you can go in on any item and you can say what happens to it, what language it's in. It supports multiple languages. You can have confirmation tests, codes, etc., and how that works. So very flexible. So we use that, probably not voice input a lot, and I can't demo that on a webinar. I haven't found a way of doing that when not in person yet that works in any shape or form. But particularly if you have a Bluetooth headset linked up to your Android device, it can be reading the next bin you need to go to when you're still finishing the one. So again, trying to make it so that you don't have to stand there looking at a device. You can really drive that productivity high. Lots of different options. We support, again, we try to mimic Business Central in terms of all the information can be standard, promoted, additional. But what's it look like when you get into a transaction on the device? Because that's going to be the key one, isn't it? So if I go in, okay, talked about the menus. We need to be able to train somebody to use this in 15 minutes flat, because a lot of our clients are perhaps using temporary staff, particularly where they're seasonal. And so one of the things we decided was that we would always make the next piece of information you need to input at the top of the screen. So here I'm going in, I'm just entering a document number. It happens to be a purchase order number, but it could be a transfer, it could be any different sales return order, and so on. I'm going to now scan my barcode, and you see the quantity to receive. There can be no confusion about what we need to do because it's there at the top of the screen. If I decided that I'd misentered information, people make mistakes, it happens. So I can just tap the screen on the information, and it says, do I want to change the item number? And I just go and cancel that back, and it takes it back, and I'm now then rescanning the machine. So people don't get stuck into a trap of kind of not entering the right information. And I enter a quantity, and I can kind up, and on the function, you may have noticed the button saying auto post. So do I actually have to click post? I can go and take pictures. I can do whatever I want to on that. I can configure this to show whatever information I want, or I can just go and post. And so we make that very, very fast. We have license plating, containers, as we call it. Clever containers is an optional part. So if I've set up that I need to receipt into a container for this item in this location for this bin, it would automatically, if I set the number series as automatic, create the container for me, spit the label out. I put those on the goods, and I'm then started building up that container so I can just put them away with one scan. So I'm running out of time, so don't have too many, but we have a challenge for you. We have a challenge to say, find an inventory function in Business Central that Business Central supports that we don't support. The new physical inventory orders for your kind of stock check functionality, we've just added support for that. We've even made that work with directed pick and put away locations. So, that's the standard didn't, it only worked with non-directed locations. So we've come and add that. So let's look at some other stuff that perhaps we've come to add to it. So let's come and look locations, because I've only got 7 minutes left, I think. So some of the reporting around the warehouse transactions in Business Central is a little bit deficient, we feel. We kept getting asked for, we need more than this. So the setup of how it works, the logic of how it goes around bins, and the reporting afterwards, we needed to add to. So let me pick this location. And you see there's some extra pieces on the location. So we define not just bins, but we organize them into racks and then bins within that. And actually, this isn't a great way. These Business Central has these lists, but they're not great for visualizing things, really, are they? So, yeah, we've added some bin policies and kind of the way that bins are structured. So we define a bin in a code format. Let me just show you that. Flick in. In effect, so we're saying, what piece of the rack is alphanumeric, and then forward links, and then kind of, can it have subsections? What's our section within that, and what's our level within that? The typical kind of racking format of, you've got aisle or rack, and then section within that, and then level within that. So we're defining that, and we enforce that. We can enforce separator characters, etc., and then we can print labels. We have a standard report to print the barcode labels if you need those. So you say which rack format you've got, and we can set the bins up using those. But what's quite nice to add in is that we have the ability to import a graphic, which is a layout of your warehouse. Okay, And so I've got one set up here that just shows that. And we've got 6 different sets of racking. And in effect, I can go and look at that and drill into that. And it then shows me, in effect, what that racking is. And I can set up within that. It helps me to kind of apply changes, because what I can do is go and find R6A3, that particular one, and I can then go and manage and split that into 2 bins or merge bins together to make the larger bins that you see. And it will change the coding in my racking and change the representation of how that rack looks. And I could set that up and then go apply changes, and that would update Business Central, this location, the bin list in Business Central, with what's there. If I've got inventory in those bins, it'll merge it together. If I split it out, it leaves it all in the first bin of the split. So it allows you to set up, if you do change, the way that your warehouse is configured, we could actually go and delete. So if you've got a walkthrough area, it makes it very easy. But let's just go back out and perhaps go back in. And what was I going to show next? I wasn't going to add a wall, actually. I'll go, where's my related statistics? Let's go into this layout inquiry. Because I talked about showing effectively, reporting about where I've got specific heat maps or so on in my warehouse. So let's select an overlay on this. And then let's perhaps go and say, right, where have I got the most traffic in terms of picks? Okay, and over what period? So I know this is demo data, I've not got a lot of picks registered on here. I really need to spend a bit of time and effort setting up. But then I start to see, actually, I've got 60 on that one, 60 on that one, and my screen is a little bit distorted. Let's just minimize it. So 60. So again, I've probably done 3 separate picks, and we see it, but you start to see. I could go and do a different overlay. So this time, let's go and do empty bins. Always a popular one with a warehouse manager. Whereabouts are my empty bins? So actually, I'm all green, and I probably need to change my criteria about what shows green, what shows red, what shows orange. But I've got 17 bins in that one, 21 bins. And these floor bins are all empty, so I can do, and I can flick into that and see which bins in that particular rack are empty. So very, very easy to kind of visualize what's going on in my warehouse just using your Business Central application. So I know I've only got a minute or 2 left. I'm running out of time. What else have we got? We've got shipping agent integration. That does exactly what it says on the tin. It will mean that, when you ship, maybe on the completion of a pick on the handheld device, it will automatically talk to lots of different couriers, APIs, consign it and produce the label out so that we go. Being a UK-based company, we've got a lot of customs. With Brexit, we've had a lot of customs experience in getting stuff. Electronic trade declarations is a particular speciality to go in and out of the US and in and out of Europe, or wherever else it needs. We cover hazardous goods as well. So if you need to ship chemicals or lithium-ion batteries or so on, we can send all of the correct information to get those consignments through and in there. That's probably where I'm got. I probably just finish off by saying we would like to say we're very, very developer friendly, and I'll evidence that by, if you go to docs cleverdynamics.com, which is our documentation site. You will see a whole developer's guide. I showed WS devices. If you want to, there are so many events published in that application. It's ridiculous. And we have kind of whole introduction to how you extend the application, build new completely bespoke functions of examples of that. There's a link to GitHub where you can go and download examples of how that works and what you need to do and get this whole thing set up and ready to work. So with that, I think I'm 31 minutes, so I need to return to the webinar.
Thank you, James. Yeah, I think before we head to the panel, there's just one question from the chat, and this is actually for Zilvinas from Softera. So there's a question from the chat, and it's from John McCormick, and the question is, I'd be interested in knowing how the solution you presented earlier handles recurring seasonal fluctuations which are predictable. So I don't know if you can see that, but
okay, thank you for the question. Quite common question we have, and actually it's one of the hardest parts, and the best idea here is to avoid such a necessity. So there is a lot of various tricks how to deal with that. So, but most of them leads to the situation when you can avoid such situations when you need to predict some seasonality. So that's very short answer, and then we can go deeper into those tricks how to deal with that. So, but more from that, when the shorter your replenishment cycles, the less you are dependent on the seasonality fluctuations. So this is in the first place the shorter replenishment cycles. You can overcome that with the forecasting. So let's say if you can put your seasonality into your forecast, so it can help to trigger your inventory levels on correct time. You probably will never be correct with your seasonality predictions, but inventory management means not to predict everything, but to be prepared for your worst scenario. And especially when we talk about beginning of the season, it's not a bad idea to prepare in advance, to prepare with a bit higher levels than you to be safe, because you still have your season ahead and you will lever out your all let's say surpluses of the inventory. So yeah, so speaking about that, you need to use a lot of tricks to avoid situations when you need to be very precise with your seasonality predictions.
all right, thank you, Zilvinas. I'll give you the contact of John later on, so you guys can get in contact regarding this. So with that, thank you so much again, James, for your presentation. If you have questions for James, feel free to ask. I think there's a follow-up question here. Let me just but maybe we can get Mark. So Martin, James, and Zilvinas, they'll do the panel discussion, and Martin will be leading the discussion. So if you guys could unmute yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Darwin. And if there are more specific questions to the content that you have seen before, just post them into the chat pane, and then we will get you in contact with either Mark or Sylvinas or James afterwards, so that you can have whatever, a follow-up meeting, a follow-up demo, follow-up phone conversation. So I think this will be more efficient for everybody, that we don't take a deep dive into one solution, but talk a little bit more about what we have seen before, and about some, let's say, typical warehouse challenges and the answers to this that we and that especially you guys as the subject matter experts see from your customers. Actually, when I looked at the presentations, I had no clear expectation of what to come, because, as you know, my and our focus is on the scheduling side of things. So I was very curious in advance of all these presentations to see what other partners build around helping business central customers in terms of warehouse solutions. And when I watched the presentations, I saw at least two different types of solutions. So I saw solutions to, and if I phrase it in my native words, to help customers track and control the flow of materials, as well as the stock quantities and the locations. So that was the one type of solutions. I would call them like, the track and control flow of materials as well as the quantities. And the other solution was to help, I would call it, to achieve an economic optimal warehouse stock level for their items. So when you guys get approached by your customers for warehouse solutions, what do they require most? What is the key pain point of a typical Business Central user searching for a warehouse solution? And let's just open up the discussion with any of you who wants to pick up on this question, and then let the others comment this. So where do you see the pain point of your customers? Is it managing and tracking the flow of the material, or is it achieve the economic optimal warehouse stock level? And if nobody wants to answer, then I will just.
I can jump in. Yeah, well, I mean, from us, obviously we focus on the execution on the warehouse and shop floors. So that's typically where we're seeing customers come in is they need some mechanism for that, for managing that automated data collection. So that's really what we see. Now, those same people are often distributors that do need, stock level planning and some additional advanced capabilities that we provide or that are out there from other ISVs.
I'd probably echo that again. We see, I think there's a need for both, but typically, what the execution piece does is, and Mark alluded to it in his presentation, is bring accuracy to the party. So until you know what inventory you've got in what location, and you're 100% confident it's right, then kind of optimizing your planning comes second. So I would say the execution comes first in a majority of instances, and then the optimization comes as a closely followed second.
Sylvinas, is this something that you
just unmute? Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think we both we all receive questions depending on our expertise, and I also agree with James that both solutions are important. In our region, we started to receive efficiency questions quite early. I think because of shortage of resources that was on the market at that moment. Let's say working capital was quite deficient, so companies were focused more on efficiency, and that's why the more companies that implement solutions were focused on efficiency part rather than accuracy. And of course, when the number of operations increasing, companies consolidating more markets. So the questions about the accuracy of registering operations and processing it becomes more and more important. So we also see that currently.
So then, comparing this with the discussion we had last week. Last week we talked a lot about shop floor solutions, and then also about the sequence of how to deal with shop floor and scheduling, and then like the consensus was do shop floor first in order to have the data in order, and then based on this data that we get from shop floor, implement scheduling. And now see the same pattern, get the data in good shape, which is done by the, as James called them, and Mark both called them the execution solutions, and then go for optimization. So is this like a general strategy you see across other business central functions as well, that you would say data first and then, and so get the basics done first and then go for the more advanced stuff? And is this like something that you also see sequenced in project, or is this something that customers want to have at the same time, and you have to educate them that this should be a sequence?
I think it's a, there's almost, you're right, Martin, it's almost a data science thing. If you're using data to make decisions, then the decisions will be wrong if the data's not accurate. So, I think that is a key part of saying, get the system right, and then very rapidly people then want to put the great reporting and the decision insights onto the top of that to exploit the maximum amount of what the effort that they've put in to get that accuracy.
So I agree that accurate data is the must for optimization tasks. So usually this accuracy and then the registering of operations comes first. Sometimes the optimization project is done simultaneously with the implementation of processing, but in half of the cases, let's say, the optimization task comes second after the system is up and running, after it's collecting data correctly, accurately, and only after that you can implement optimization.
Yeah, and I think the sort of the one phrase that sums it up is, you can't improve what you haven't measured, right? Because if you can't measure it, you can't decide if you've improved it or not. So I think the measurement comes first and the optimization comes second.
Then I was about to ask a bit cynical follow-up question, and what you just said, Mark, will make it a little bit less cynical, because if I sense it right, you already gave an implicit answer to this. Because my follow-up question that I just wrote down was like, if I follow the thoughts that you had, that get the data right first and then make decisions, because if the data is not right, then you will make wrong decisions. I was about to ask, like, okay, but what defines the end of getting the data right process? Because if I follow the thought, then as long as you try to get the data right, you will make no decisions at all, which is also not a good strategy. So if I got you right, Mark, then the decisive point is for like concluding on the getting data right process is that you start to have things measurable in the repeatable way. And as soon as you have it, then you can look for the more advanced stuff, and then you can go for optimization. Is this a fair conclusion? And let's start with Mark, who was the one who answered the last question at last.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, you don't have to be perfect initially. I mean, everybody is measuring, capturing that data today. So everybody running Business Central is capturing inventory levels, sales, shipments, purchase receipts, all of those sorts of things are there. The question is whether that information is timely and accurate. If it's not timely and accurate, you're going to struggle to make, timely and accurate decisions, right? It's bad data in, bad decisions out. So that's the goal. Now, you don't have to wait till you're perfect to start, devising plans and trying to drive some optimization, but definitely these automated data collection tools and optimization tools are going to help you with that. And execution optimization tools, I should clarify.
Silvinus, do you want to add something to this?
I would like to pick up on Mark, because the level of accuracy, of course, it may be infinite, I think, but of course you can start anytime with optimization. Only your point of optimization will be higher in inventory, let's say. Because when you're not accurate, it adds some additional variability to your system. Let's say you have variability in your demand, you have variability in supply, but you also add your internal variability of the system with being not accurate with the daily operations. So, but anyway, it means that you only need more inventory to cover that variability. And after that, you can try to be more accurate with your internal processes. So exclude some part of variability, so your inventory levels will go down. So a proper optimization tool provides such a possibility. So that's how software inventory also works.
Okay, I think we have found actually, I would say, a quite good consensus on how, I would say, execution and optimization solutions can work hand in hand. What a good recommended sequence of implementing them is that there needs to be the point in between where things become measurable, so that you have like a ground on which you can base the optimization. So I would like to change the perspective on this a little bit, and let's say kind of become a little bit less operational from the perspective, because when I looked at, or when I thought about warehousing in advance of this event and thought about different warehousing strategies, then just me observing what's going on in the industry, I started to think about if the current economic developments that we see with supply chain issues all across the board and delivery shortfalls and supply chain interruptions, I wonder if these kind of developments actually affect the warehouse strategies of your customers. And me being a scheduling guy, I, let's say, naively imagine that companies that in the past tended to lean or to lend towards lean and just-in-time strategies, which means reducing inventories and reducing warehouse, that they have to start building or filling warehouses again. Is this something that you see from your customers, James, or is this just like a theory that I'm having?
You're certainly seeing customers start to kind of depends on the risk, Martin. But the containers, when they manage to get a container coming across from the forest, maybe they're certainly ordering larger quantities because they they want some buffer stock in the system. So it's two ways. I think it is introducing a tendency to kind of put more slack in the system, but at the same time they're getting shocks, which mean that stuff arrives one day and really needs to be shipped the same day. I was doing a presentation yesterday to somebody actually in the US, and they were talking about a situation where they're on the production side, they're manufacturing with accepting the fact that there will be a number of items that they have to go fit afterwards because they don't have the full component list when they start the production order. And I think all these kind of compromises, he was saying, end of the quarter, it's what I need to do. It's the only way I'm going to hit my numbers. And so companies are having to come perhaps off the kind of what they would like to do and have to be a bit more pragmatic in light of the different constraints that their environments that they're all operating in right now. Labour is another one we're seeing. We're actually struggling to recruit and retain people. Warehouse operatives aren't typically the most expensive people, the best paid people, and so actually they're having to pay more. That means that they're more, things like pick rates and kind of the productivity is going higher up the agenda. So they're really looking at how they can save just milliseconds per operation, because actually in the course of a day that adds up and is suddenly a bigger factor even than it was before.
Mark, anything to add on this?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good statement. I tend to agree with pretty much all of that.
So you see the same pattern, the same mechanism also in North America? I mean, James referenced already a customer in the US, but I would assume you have more.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not entirely sure it's even region specific. I mean, we see the same challenges really globally. I mean, when we got into the Far East and some of the Asian areas there, they have different challenges, but for the most part, anybody that's doing that type of importing from those manufacturing centers is going to have those challenges.
Serenas, you also see this with your customers in your area? I would assume yes.
Yes. So probably the supply sources are quite common around the globe.
Yeah.
So the situation is the same. That I think the most dramatic that as far as I can remember. But in addition, what can I say? When we have such a situations and the supply chains are not connected through some one idea or one approach, so different chains try to optimize itself by trying to purchase more inventory in order to be safe, and that creates a lot of demand waves in the unstable situation. So it's and because of that, situation becomes even worse. So not necessarily inventory goes to the place where it's the needed mostly. And the more supply chains are integrated, what we will try to achieve through our tool to provide possibilities to integrate supply chains, not only within the company but also between the companies. So the more supply chain is integrated, the less those shock waves are going through. Inventory is distributed more properly, and even in deficit periods, those chains suffer less. So Of course, it sounds like utopia to implement globally, but the more the better.
So that was already, let's say, part of an answer to the question I wanted to ask next, because when I heard James talking about that customers on the one hand put more slack into their system, so they build more buffer, bit more stock, but on the other hand also have more shocks. And then his conclusion was that overall, in terms of like balancing slack and shocks, customers needs to become more pragmatic. I wondered if this will call for pragmatism also has it comes with the mandate to change, like where or comes with new requirements on the warehouse solutions that they are talking and how they deal with this. And then what you just said is that one way that you could deal with this is to make the supply chain and the warehouse solutions more connected and more integrated. So Mark, James, would you like to add something to this?
I think integration, the demand from clients, I've been in role for decades now, and every year standard practice across the client base seems to go up a level of a notch or two, and so their expectation constantly grows. And I'm not sure whether that's because we're capable of doing more, and so therefore they kind of latch onto that and it becomes standard practice, or in a lot of instances it's them driving, saying we have to have this, we have to have capability, we have to compete. Certainly there's been a sea change in the last 10 years around the importance of systems to business, whereas I think I certainly remember a time where it was kind of regarded as a necessary evil that they had to spend money on. Now they really see it as something that they absolutely can't do without and understand they need to invest in. So I think there's a lot of the clients I enjoy working with the most are the ones that kind of constantly look at apply kind of continuous improvement principles and coming back to us saying, could we get the advantage by doing this? Could we do that? And that's across the piece. That's not even, it is across their supply chain. The EDI messages that I talked about earlier are integral to a lot of the warehousing we do now. So they'll have 3 warehouses of their own, and 3 which are 3PL outsourced warehouses, and they'll be sending them instructions to ship and confirmation of shipping and all the different standard electronic messages, and nobody needs to know. Somebody just sits in an office and puts the transaction through, and even that doesn't happen sometimes when it's EDI, e-commerce. So I think automation to a ridiculous extent is just becoming normal. Nobody wants to touch the transaction. They want to set the policy up and they just want to see it execute. But they need to be able to kind of set the policy up to work the way they want to work. And just about every business has some kind of difference or something that they consider gives them a competitive edge and wants to keep that. So that's I guess the constant challenge we've got of how to satisfy that and provide repeatable, progressive solutions.
Yeah, exactly. And those repeatable solutions and progressive solutions, you're right, customers are asking more of everything, of all their systems, and part of that is because they can do more, right? As you mentioned, a lot of the sort of high-end capabilities that used to cost a fortune are now quite commoditized. When we're talking about this warehouse execution, you've seen a few examples of it here today, but I mean, there's 20-some vendors on AppSource with WMS solutions for Business Central. Like it's a commodity, right? And the same thing had happened with EDI. Now there's some consolidation in the Business Central world around that, but I mean, these things that used to be, you know, GM could run EDI, but nobody else wanted to go near it. It's now a few clicks almost, and you have access to that. So it is becoming a lot easier with these web platforms, web services, all of that to get this, you know, deep supply chain integration all the way from, you know, order entry on e-commerce, you know, through to procurement and automated fulfillment. All of that kind of stuff is so easy nowadays that people are just naturally asking for what can be done, and they want us to do it.
I think this was actually a quite good closing statement, and making the point that a lot of high-end solutions now with new technology, and also with some new technology that actually I find Microsoft is driving to a very, very high end with high speed, providing leading edge to us as their partners, but also to you as their customers, that these kind of progress that we see on the technology side, making these high-end solutions now becoming a commodity, which I find is a quite good message and is good news for a lot of companies around. So I would like to conclude this discussion and also this event today with this I find quite strong closing statement from Mark, and I just must say that now last week we had an in-depth discussion around shop floor and shop floor solutions under this new event concept that actually Larvin came up with, which we call the Business Central Manufacturing Exchange. I enjoyed the discussion last week. Today we came together and discussed some specific warehouse solutions that are out there for Business Central customers. And later this week, we will meet again with another group of people to then not go functionally deep dive, but go deep dive on two bespoke verticals. That is the printing industry, and this is industrial equipment manufacturing. So if you're interested in this, then please join us again on Thursday at the same time. And with this, I would like to thank you very much, Sylvinas, Mark, and James, for being here with us today and sharing your warehouse insight. This was very, very both entertainment and informational for me, and I'm pretty sure it was the same for the audience here. So thanks for taking 2 hours of time today. And if there are follow-up questions, and if attendees to this webinar want to talk to you guys, then we definitely will make sure that you get in contact with them so that you can engage in a more in-depth discussion with them. But from me now, thank you very much for today, and see you soon, all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Martin. Thanks for organizing this.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
Then I would say bye for now.